Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok on this side. Welcome. It has been a while. I think my last time that I was live was April or before April. So I traveled. So TikTok, this is my first time being live on you for a while. So welcome. I am on Facebook and YouTube. And we're talking about mental health. Everybody knows that I'm a mental health therapist licensed here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I just wanted to talk about mental health and within our families, because I think a lot of time we have mental health issues or substance abuse issues within our family, and we don't really talk about them a lot. And so I wanted to bring this topic to the forefront. So welcome. But we will get started at 8:40. I'm a little early because I wanted to make sure that I can see comments because it has been a while. Yeah, I think the last time I was live on any social media platform, I think it was a little before April, before my birthday. So welcome. I will be back doing lives every other week on my Dr. Dare Show on Facebook and YouTube. And I'll bring in TikTok as well. Hey, TikTok. I know you see a lot of my grief videos on TikTok. And so I did want to have a question for you guys out there. Do you want on TikTok and even Facebook, do you want a grief support group? I'm finishing up a grief journal that should be done maybe next month, and thinking about starting an online grief support group. If you want that, let me know. Send me a message, reply to one of my videos, DM me or whatever. But tonight we will be talking about mental health and how it impacts our families. And if you're out there and you're on, please make a comment. Let me know you're out in the audience. So that I can know that people are on. But again, we don't start to really 8:40. I'm a little early. It's only 8:25. Let's catch you guys up with what I've been working on for the last few months. So, like I said, I've been writing a grief journal, and it's just about finished. And so I want to, it's going to help people work through their grief, but I do want to do it like a online support group, and so working on that. I'm also working on some therapy cards. I don't know if you've never been in therapy, and sometimes we use we use therapy cards sometimes, and so I'm writing my own for my sessions. But I'm working on those, getting those published. So I've been doing that and just working and building my practice and things like that. But you have any questions for me while we're waiting to start the show at 8:40? We will be talking about mental health. I think mental health, I've been, some of my friends, some of my colleagues, some of the people that I come in contact with, it seems like there's a lot of family mental health issues happening, and nobody really knows that they're issues. It's just, I don't know about you. I know when I was growing up, if somebody had a mental health issue in the family, we just kind of pushed it under the rug. We would always say that person is strange, or something's off about them, but nobody would ever, at least in that I'm aware of, nobody else would ever really um, like say, hey, maybe we need to get help for this person. So this is kind of what I want this topic to be about tonight, is just talking about substance abuse and addiction and mental health issues, and how you can know that the mental health issue is there, and that it's a problem, and that it's impacting your family. And why did my screen just close up on TikTok? Okay, so now I'm gonna have to go back on live. That was interesting. Just closed me right out of there. Okay, resume. I'm back. I don't know what happened TikTok, but we're here. We're here. Um, yeah. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, please make a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you can hear me. I think I need to put on my other phone. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We will get started at 8:40, and I love talking about mental health, and so I'm all for it. Talking about mental health. Yes, so let me make sure that I am live and that you can hear me. It has been a long time since I've been on live, but we are here now. Make sure I am showing live. If you're on, please click like, click share. If you're on uh, Facebook or YouTube, let me just make sure that. This phone is really doing its own thing. Let me restart her. But yeah, that's what's been going on here in Atlanta. Nice weather, nice busy week. Um, yeah. Any questions for me on TikTok? I know I'm not on here very often, so you may have a lot of questions for me. Um, yeah. And I do on TikTok, I do want to thank everybody who chimes in, who watches my videos, and YouTube and TikTok, and Facebook. Thank you for watching my videos, um, and making comments and sharing your experiences. I love that. My way is not the only way to process grief. Like some things when I'm talking in the video, it's just the way I processed it. Doesn't mean that that's the only way to process grief. But I love when you guys chime in and give me you share your experiences and things like that. But if you have any questions for me, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook and YouTube. Our topic tonight, your family members' mental health issues destroying the family. And what I found is in talking about this topic is that a lot of families experience mental health issues. And I said this earlier when I first came on, is that a lot of people have mental health issues in their family, mental health illness in their family, and we just like to classify the people as just having a mental health issue. I'm sorry, acting strange or different, and so we put them in that category, and I don't think they get the help that they need if it's a mental health issue, but we will be identifying that in a second. I'm trying to get my phone on. Oh, what's that? What? Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're on, please make a comment so that I can know that you're here. My phone is really not. Is that why? That's why. I'm like, what is happening? Anyway, how are y'all? And please share the live and welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, I was trying to get my other phone under. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to do, and I need to make sure that you guys can hear me on both ends. And so, yeah, what y'all got going on out there when you come in? How's everybody feeling? Let me know where you are. Let me know which state you're in, and how's the weather, and how's your week been. Um, what's going on in your area? Um, how's the news? Eh, let's see. My phone is really doing something weird. Yeah. So there we are. There's all the messages. Okay. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to. There we are. What's going on in your area? Hey, Jenny, I see you now. I see you. Yeah, StreamYard doesn't show any comments yet. My phone is really doing something weird. Yeah. Let's see. So there we are. There's all the messages. Okay. There we are. What's going on in your area? Hey, Jenny, I see you now. I see you. Yeah. Remove. StreamYard doesn't show any comments yet. I'm gonna remove that. Okay. There we are. Here's all the messages. There we are. Hey, Jenny, I see you now. I see you. Hi, Sandy. I am good. How are you? Thank you for joining. Thank you. Hello, Anna. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm actually doing a live show on YouTube and Facebook. And oh. Hi, Sandy. Oh, Jenny, you say it's crazy because okay. Jenny is watching. It's crazy because we were trying to get help, but because she could answer the question they asked, they could answer dismiss. It keeps repeating what you're saying. Oh, okay. I'm trying to disconnect some of the Facebooks and then bring them back on. Jenny, you said somebody was trying to get help. Who was trying to get help? I think I'm missing a part of your message. Hello, Debbie. Welcome. I just want to tell TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. Just thank you all for listening to the videos. I did ask a question previously. I am writing a grief journal, and I want to know if you guys want to start a grief social group, maybe every other week or maybe once a month, where we get on and we just talk about what you need to talk about, how to explore your emotions, process your emotions around grief and anything, the grief journey in general. So if you're interested in that, I am finishing up a journal, a grief journal. Maybe I'll say another month it should be done. The writing part is done. It's just being published right now. But that's what we're working on. It keeps repeating. Is it still repeating, Jenny, what I'm saying? And thank you guys for the hearts. Yes. And make sure you share the video. We get started at 8:40. Tonight we're talking about mental health in our families because I think a lot of us have have mental health illness in our families, and we kind of just and I hate to say this word, but we kind of ignore those family members, kind of put them to the side, classify them as strange, but then we realize that they need more help. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Donna. Hey, TikTok people. Hey, YouTube people. Hey, Facebook people. I can't see the comments on the screen, but I can see them on. oh, I can see them on my phone, so hopefully it's not echoing too bad. Okay, so everybody's coming on. We will start at 8:50. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. There we go. Oh, that's too big. Oh, it's not echoing anymore. Good. I think it was my phone. I had the phone going at the same time. But tonight we're talking about mental health illness. I know I do a lot of talking and videos about mental health and, um, different relationship topics, family topics, grief and death and loss and all those things. But tonight we're focused on mental health issues because I think our families, it seems like after COVID, um, people really had a lot of leftover anxiety, depression, from that, and being isolated for so long and having to stay away from their families and all of that stuff. And I think it's left some people in a negative state. There's so many people struggling with substance abuse issues, addictions, um, anxiety, all of those things. And I think as families, we just kind of ignore it or don't understand what a mental health issue. And I'm going to explain that. I'm going to share a story of a lady who had a son who was struggling with mental health issues, and it just kind of happened. She didn't know it was happening. And so I think that's a common story in our culture, is that we know when we're physically hurting, right? We know when we have a headache or there's something wrong with the body part, or something's not working right, and we know that, the physical aspect. But I think the mental part of that, we don't really know when to address that. That's anything. You don't know if you're struggling with anxiety. You don't know if you are depressed. A lot of people are depressed and don't realize that each day they're depressed, and they're just walking around just feeling numb and not feeling like themselves. And it's just kind of they've normalized it so much that it's just like their personality now. And so I'm going to, hey, Veronica, how are you? Um, yeah, but mental health issue is a big thing. And I am a true advocate for it because I feel like it's not talked about enough, and it does cause a negative life if you don't get it under control. And so it's 8:40 now. And so what I'd like to talk about, the way we identify if somebody has a mental health issue, is we say if it is impacting their functioning, they're struggling to go to work, they're not able to do the things that they used to do because this thing now that they are experiencing has taken over their lives. It's impacting their friendships, their relationships, their family. They've destroyed their income. They've destroyed the just every aspect of their life is negative. And the thing is, the sad part is they don't realize that it's happening. And all of a sudden they go from having all this stuff and having their lives together to actually having nothing. What I used to see when I worked at a psychiatric hospital is that a lot of the homeless people that we see walking around talking to themselves and all of those, they have mental health issues. Not all of them. Hey, Mike, how are you? Not all of the homeless people, but a lot of them have mental health issues, and it's like they can't get back on track because this mental health issue has taken over, and that's why you see a lot of them talking to themselves, or um, just they seem like they're in another world, and that's it. And it's so sad to see that. And at that hospital that I worked at, it was just as what we would do is we would get them, what's the word? We would get them situated and give them the medication that they need and put them right back out. And then once it wears off, they were back out talking to themselves, or struggling with their mental health and not able to get back on track. And that's the sad part of mental health. Sometimes a genetics thing, like it runs in the family, or it's a chemical imbalance. It can be a number of things that trigger um, a mental health issue. But the goal is, if the goal and the rule of thumb, if it is impacting your day-to-day functioning, you're not going to work, your relationships are falling off, they're breaking up, you're not able to just live your life like you used to, you're not going to work, you're not taking care of kids, everything in your life is just crumbling right before you're struggling with the mental health issue. And then not only that, when it starts to impact your family members, then the family starts to feel the effect of the mental health issue. They're struggling because they're watching you die, or watching you struggle with this mental health issue, or watching you change and not understand what is really happening. And it's very sad. The way I feel like when I'm working with clients, and I try to empathize with them, because I feel like they're trapped in their body with this mental health issue, and nobody understands. Like, I have anxiety, right? And I know if I told someone, I have claustrophobia, so I know if I told someone, oh, when you get in the elevator, it's going to close on you, and they're going to be like, what are you talking about? It's just an elevator. It is not. It's not going to do anything to you. It's not going to hurt you. But when you have anxiety, when you have claustrophobia, you have a rational fear. Hey, Karen. Um, so I can see YouTube comments on the stream live, but I can't see um, Facebook comments, but I can read them off my phone. Jenny says, don't take medicine is a problem. Yes. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jenny. A lot of people are against medication. And my thing is, and they'll try to come to therapy, and they'll say, oh, well, therapy's not working, because I think at that stage there's something going on in here, like maybe a chemical imbalance. Dopamine is not there, serotonin, something chemically is not there, and so you can't function normally, because that chemical, that neurotransmitter, is what they call a dopamine neurotransmitter, is not functioning properly. So people with ADHD, right, they sometimes don't have motivation to do anything, because they have a low dopamine level, which is a low chemical in their brain that doesn't give them that motivation to go, oh yeah, I can complete all my tasks. Because people with ADHD, they'll start a task and they can't finish it, and they'll just have all these tasks around the house and can't do them, or start things with relationships and never finish the relationship, because they lose focus. They lose because they have a low dopamine level. Sometimes different scenarios for different situations. But until you get that medication, talk therapy is not going to work. I can sit here and talk to you about, oh, well, if you do this, do this, do this, if you use a timer, if you use a calculator, if you use da 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 da, and you have ADHD, but you're not taking medication. And sometimes talk therapy is not going to work unless you take the medication. So I wanted to talk about having family members in your household with mental health illness, and you see them struggling. You see them having a hard time just staying afloat, just day-to-day life. And so I wanted to share this video, and unfortunately TikTok, you can't see it unless I turn the screen. We'll see if I can do that. Let's see if I can turn that this way. Ooh. Let's see if we can do that. I don't think we can. Let's see. Yeah, I'll put that there. So we're gonna share this little snippet of a video here. I'll make it big, I think.
These are pictures of my son. Almost all of them are when he was little, elementary school. There aren't a lot that I have of anything, but I like looking at these pictures. It says who they are. I've got this picture here. He's 2 years old, and he's holding his baby sister. They're about 2 years apart. One of the things that I noticed is that I have very few photos of my son smiling. Even as a child, there's just this look on his face. And he always said that he didn't know how to smile and that his smiles were forced. If hindsight is 2020, I could say that things were going awry probably when he was in high school. And this wasn't the typical teenage pushback. He robbed a liquor store, a 7-Eleven. He would get tickets for driving too fast to the point that he could no longer be on our car insurance. Really reckless behavior. In 2008, when my son was 24, he had a paranoid break. In 2013, he had a second breakdown, and this one was bigger than the first one. He was diagnosed with a psychotic disorder. His symptoms were paranoia, belief that parents are poisoning him with meth. My son doesn't believe he needs medication, and that was his second psychotic break. This was the big one. That year, he finally got a diagnosis. The diagnosis was bipolar, schizoaffective with mood disorders. And that's the diagnosis that we're working on today. My son's had 15 hospitalizations, 3 times in jail. He's been homeless it's been a year since Thanksgiving. I just hurt for him. You know, I'm powerless. I'm totally powerless. I wrote a letter to the editor regarding an article they read because I felt just like those individuals, and I still do. And I feel every time I see a homeless person that's out there talking to themselves, that is sitting in an alleyway with a comforter around them, they need a bath, they need to change their clothes, they need some food. That's what I see my son as. And I don't want to see that. That's not, when I gave birth to him, when I was pregnant with him, that's not what I envisioned. And I don't think that's what any parent envisions when they have a child with a mental illness. It's hard. It's heartbreaking. Services are available. Should there be more money for these services? Yes. Should there be more attention to housing? Yes. But the other part is that we really need to rethink how we're going to treat those with mental illness. Something that would help is to provide more funding for board and care facilities. More of these supported living arrangements need to be made available to go along with counseling and case management. And we've got to find another way.
Recordings just got better.
Hello. We're back. Well, that was a lady who her son had, okay, and I got some comments. Karen says, you sound good on YouTube. You can hear me. Okay. Thank you for explaining the chemical aspect as it relates to taking meds for mental health. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Karen, because a lot of people are against medication, and I get it. You don't want to be putting things in your body, but if you need that help, if you're struggling, if you're not able to meet the demands of your daily life, then it's probably a good idea to just go talk to a therapist so they can educate you on the medication that's out there. But a lot of people are suffering in silence, and you're struggling. Your life could be, so much better if you did take medication. Are there any questions out there? Anybody want to make any comments? Thank you all for joining and being on with me, coming back for it's been a while since April. And so I do have another video that I wanted to share, because this video is where this lady was struggling. I mean, it was really impacting her family life, and they were trying to kind of push through it, and it wasn't happening. Let's see. Any questions? Thank y'all for joining. I'm still bipolar. Okay. So yeah, let's look at this one.
Julie and I met the first week of college.
We lived in the same dorm room. He was on the 7th floor. I was on the 6th floor.
That was it. We were 18 years old, and since then we've been together.
This is when he proposed to me. We were 23.
We moved to California the day after we got married from the East Coast. Julie got a new job, and she was really excited to work at the company.
I always was able to pick up things and just go with it, whether it was a new job or an old job. And so when I found myself struggling for the first time in my life, I couldn't get through an email. It would take me 3 hours to draft an email. I would get up in the morning and I would find every excuse to skip work. It just happened so quickly that within 6 weeks, I completely spiraled. Not only experienced depression, suicidality. For the first time, I wanted to kill myself. Like I never even knew what that meant. I didn't have any history of mental illness.
Julia was just not sleeping. She was really agitated about everything. She was talking about some really scary things and believing some things that were clearly not real. And that's where we were really shocked to the point of, okay, we need to all get in the car, go to the hospital, and whatever happens there, happens there.
My first trip to the psych ward, it's like entering a different realm of existence. You're stripped away from your life and you're brought to this hospital. You're locked into it. You can't leave. And I remember pacing the halls and they would pump me with medications that I didn't want to take. It was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Julia was hospitalized for 23 days. And for most of them, they didn't know what she had. Then after the hospital, she was put into an outpatient program, which for most people is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And Julie ended up in that program for 9 months because of how prolonged the depression was after the hospital.
I must have been on dozens of different medications to figure out what was going to work best for me. They put me on one where I gained 70 pounds in 6 weeks. I just felt so out of control of my own life, and this added layer of being not in control of even my body. It was just devastating to me.
That was, I think, probably the hardest for me, to see her on these pills, to have to give her these pills and have the faith that they were helping her. I spent pretty much all day with Julia, and she was slowed down by her medications, and she was going to sleep really early. I've never felt more lonely at any point in my life. I found online about this support group, which was for family members who were caring for someone with a mental illness, but I just didn't find my home there because almost everyone there was supporting a child who had a mental illness. I even went online trying to find people who were writing about something like this, and I found that there was almost nothing about being in love with someone who's in a mental health crisis. After the first hospitalization and then subsequent depression, as soon as Julia got the right chemical combination, she snapped out of it almost as quickly as she fell into it. And once that happened, we were really just able to get back to our life as best we could. We got back into work. We wanted to have a child. The doctors gave us the full blessing to do so. So we had this little boy. And then our plan was that I was actually going to be the stay-at-home dad. And Julia, who always loved work, was going to go back to work. And so when our son was 5 months old, Julia got back into work. And 3 weeks later, she was back in the hospital.
After my first hospitalization, my official diagnosis was major depression with psychotic features. And it wasn't until actually my second hospitalization that I got the diagnosis of bipolar.
The second hospitalization was probably the hardest. We were parents. We were dealing with the realization that this was not a one-time thing. But I would say it was getting out of the second hospitalization and in the time after that we started to feel like we could be a little more in control.
Let's go.
So Julia did have a third episode. She was hospitalized again. For whatever reason, it was her shortest. And the depression that was after it was also the shortest. She didn't have to quit her job. And so it actually felt, in some weird way, a little bit triumphant because it didn't bulldoze through our life.
I've learned to accept that I am bipolar, that I have this mental illness every day for the rest of my life. And what it entails is potential hospitalizations every few years and not being so terrified and so scared of them. And knowing that you need to put your child first and your family first, regardless of how scary it is to be in a psych ward. That was a choice I made and a choice I will continue to make.
We're sitting here. Jonas is almost 5. We have no idea how many more of these lie ahead of us. It could be 0. It could be a dozen. But I think we both know that if it happens, we are going to get through it at least. It's going to be ugly, right? It's going to be heartbreaking. But I don't think, have this sense of futility and defeat that we felt in previous ones, because we've just learned to accept this is what our life is now. And that's okay. And we can still have amazing moments and make it through.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, shows.
Okay, close. Sorry. I'm back, y'all. I'm back. Trying to maneuver through 3 different social media sites. So we heard her story. And Jenny, I saw you made a comment. It's hard to get them diagnosed, especially if they don't go to the doctor regularly or refuse to go. Yes. And what I found is a lot of mental health clients mental people who are suffering from mental health illness don't like medication. They don't like the way it makes them feel. As you can see with her story that she was sharing, is that she was struggling, but she worked through it. And what people get discouraged too with the medication part, she was saying how her medication didn't work first, because they do have to find the right dosage for you. And that may take some time. Sometimes they get it on the first try, but sometimes it may take a while before you start to actually feel for yourself. So, hey, Michelle. Hey, Avery. Hey, Mikkel. Hey, Terrence. Daryl. How are y'all? And so any questions, any comments out there? Thank you for explaining the chemical aspect. I read that. Karen says, tell us more about Grief Journal that is being published soon. So I am working on a grief journal. I was telling TikTok about it. Hey, TikTok. But I have a grief journal that it's almost finished now. And I think I'm going to start a group, a grief support group online. Once that journal is published. It's finished. I wrote it. It's being, the book cover is being made and designed already and all of that stuff. So it should be out soon. But that's going to be for people. So let's get back into talking about mental health in our families. So a lot of us experience mental health issues with people. And so I'll tell you about some mental health issues that I've seen as a therapist. I don't know if I'm going to put this back in here. So a lot of our mental health illnesses that we see in our family comes out with somebody in our family member. Why am I sounding like I can't talk? Our family members suffer from just not being able to have a relationship with them. It's a struggle just to have a relationship with you, because they're always finding something that you did wrong, or there's always a conflict or something. And what I found in people who experience bipolar or experience personality disorders, there one characteristic of that disorder is that they struggle with relationships and having good relationships with people. And so you may find yourself arguing with them over little things that are not even important, or that you could say, I love a black house, and they'll say, no, that house is red. And you would just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with them. And so I think in our families, we tend to classify people as strange. I said this earlier, when they're experiencing some type of mental health issue, but we don't help them seek the help that they need. And like Jenny was saying, some of them don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to get diagnosed. They think they can get up every day and think things are just going to be okay, or that things are going to get better. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, I want us to treat mental health illness like it's a physical illness. Like when we have a headache, when we have a knee injury, when we have anything physically wrong with us, we go to the doctor and we go and we get help, right? And so I want us to think of mental health like that. And so Michelle made a comment. Michelle, I have one of those in my family, and my daughter is like that. Yes, where you have this relationship. It's nothing you can say or do is right. They're always going to find something to argue about. And usually when I find that, I found like personality disorders where, and I don't want to generalize that this can go around to many disorders, but usually when a person struggles with all their relationships in their lives, there's always an issue. There's always something going on, and it's usually they're the common denominator. Usually there's a problem there. Like I said earlier, when you're looking at mental health issues, the thing that we look at is if it's impacting your functioning, like you can't go to work, you're struggling with relationships, you're struggling with just day-to-day life and not being able to move forward, then we may need to go talk to a therapist or get a psych evaluation. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a taboo that we've put on mental health, is that you're crazy if you see a therapist. What I can say and what I'm proud of is that a lot more people are starting to seek therapy and getting the help they need. And Lynn says mine too. Yeah. And I've experienced both of y'all, Michelle and Lynn's. I've experienced your conversations, and it is hard. It is hard trying to live a life when things just, no matter what you do or no matter what you say or no matter how hard you try to help, it just seems like it's not going anywhere. And I always say when their life, if you look at their lives, they struggle in every aspects of it. They may have started out this bright sunshine person that had their stuff together, and then slowly but surely things just fell apart, relationships just fell apart, and it's sad because you stand there and you watch it. It's just like the lady that was talking, her and her husband, they were battling. She was bipolar and she had to go to the hospital several times. I'm sure it was scary for them before, when it first happened, because they didn't know what was going on, but it was starting to impact the family and and then she finally went to the doctor, and it was scary for her to go to the doctor. It was scary for her to be in a psych ward where they're giving you all kinds of medication when you used to just living your life as a wife, and you didn't have this planned that this mental health thing was going to happen to you. So some things when you're dealing with people with mental health issues is to be kind, know when to take a break, know when, because sometimes I think we talk, we try to be rational with them, but sometimes they can't there's no, what word am I looking for? They're never going to get what you're trying to say, because their reality is on another different level than our normal reality. We may think coming in a house at 9:00 at night is good and perfect. They may think coming in the house at 5:00 in the morning is good every day, even if you got to go to work. Something, I just made that up, but that's their reality. So one example of that is there was this person who was fussing about working on a holiday, and the logic behind that was, if we all stopped shopping on Christmas, then they wouldn't have to work. And so it was like, yeah, but everybody doesn't sell. And my rationale is like, everybody doesn't celebrate Christmas. So the people who don't celebrate don't mind going to work because it helps them keep their mind off of the holiday, and they get to make extra money and la 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 la. But anyway, that's how arguments can be. They can be just, you're arguing with somebody where they don't make any sense, and you realize it doesn't make any sense, but they pull you into those arguments. So any questions out there? Any questions? I've been yapping and going on. But mental health illness is big, and it's sad, and it can just jump on a person, and sometimes they don't even realize. A lot of times they don't realize they're struggling with the mental health issue. You see it, you hear it, you watch their lives just decline, but it's like you're sitting there watching a movie and you can't get into the picture tube to actually help change the trajectory of what's happening, because you see it falling and failing. But yeah, it's hard. Just keep your head up, pray, stay focused, learn about the disorder, try to have empathy for them. If they're having an episode, meaning when I say episode, that means their emotions are high, and because sometimes that's going to happen and you're not going to understand that either. That's when maybe you should go and take a break. And then once you realize that that's calmed down, then come back. But it's hard, and no judgment. Lynn said, as a parent, it's heartbreaking to watch your child go through the process of addiction and bipolar and have lost everything, and yet still thinks they can get better on their own without rehabilitation. And thank you for sharing that, Lynn. That is a problem that we see. And like I said, when I worked at that psychiatric hospital, they would try to hide their medication because they didn't like the way they felt, and they felt they were okay. But people on the outside looking in, you see that something is really wrong, and your reality that you think is good is not a real reality. And that's the sad part. That's the part. It's like you said, Lynn, you're just kind of sitting there watching the self-destruction, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say. And that's really, really hard. It's like the mom that was talking about her son. She said she noticed it when he was 16 years old, or in pictures, he never really would smile. And then the smile that he did have, it was a fake smile. And she said she saw those things. And that's why I do this show, is because if you do have young kids, or you do see somebody in your family, and we always say, well, they're strange or something like that. But if there's any way you can get them help, even if it's just going to talk to a therapist, finding a therapist that they like, that they connect with, so that therapist can then build rapport with them, and then connect them to some psychological services to get assessments, so that they can, because like you were saying, Lynn, a chemical imbalance, that's not something you can just say, oh, I'm going to get over it. Like it's a struggle. When you have a mental health issue, you can't say, oh, well, each day I'm going to work on making my mind strong so that I will get better. It doesn't work like that. Like that's the problem. It's like you can't fix it. It's not something. Sometimes if it's a chemical imbalance, like I was talking about earlier, if you don't have enough dopamine in your brain, you can't there's not going to be any motivation. There's not going to be any things to look forward to. You're going to be depressed because you don't have, see what dopamine does for us in our brains, people who don't have mental health illnesses. That's why we're able to accomplish goals. That's why we're able to have motivation. That's why we're able to look on the bright side of things when even when things look dark. But people who don't have dopamine, enough dopamine in their brains, all of that stuff is they can't find that level. They don't have that motivation. They can't do it. and they don't understand that because it is here. It is in their main. Michelle says that's what I do with my daughter. I have to let her do her uh, do her, even though I feel like I need to help her. So I give her her space, but I let her know I will be here. I tried to get her to talk to somebody, but she said she don't need it, and that's the thing. They don't see it, and that's why you can't blame the family. You can't, it's hard to watch. But sometimes, too, Michelle, and I'm glad you're sharing that. Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Sometimes you got to get help for yourself because it can it can be wear and tear on you, wear and tear on your mental health, wear and tear on your physical health, because these people are just, it's almost like they get you in a cycle with them and they just keep going and going and going. And it's hard to kind of pull yourself out of it because, like you were saying, Lynn, it hurts to watch your loved one kind of hurt themselves. And so, yeah, it's hard. Well, thank y'all for sharing those experiences. Um, I always say if you need a therapist or you feel like someone needs a therapist, send them to psychologytoday.com. There, they can just go onto that website and they can put in their zip code and it will locate a therapist around their area. And always remember that if you don't like one therapist, you can go and find another. You don't have to stay with the therapist if you don't really like them, because it's best to find a therapist that you match with, that you feel comfortable with, so that you can talk to and you don't feel judged and you don't feel like you can't get out what you need. I'm always telling my clients, you can say anything in here. You can cuss, you can cry, you can do whatever you want. This is your session. I can't judge you. I'm not going to judge you. And so this is your space to get whatever you got going on out, that's going on with you outside, that you can't feel like you can't tell your family or your friends. This is a space for that. Hey, Mind Over Food. How are you? Thank you for joining on TikTok, Karina. Yeah. So any other questions before we go? Hey, Nicole. This is a hard topic. But let me know. Like I said, I've been working on several projects. I've been busy. I'm finishing up on publishing my grief journal and going to start a grief support group. If you guys want it, I told you to DM me in the book. But that book should be finished. They just showed me the cover. I just proofread the information on it. So I say another month it'll be ready. It'll be on Amazon, available for purchase. And I'm working on some therapy cards that will be done soon. I have the design done already, and I got 2 more sets of therapy cards that are going to be coming out as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of therapy stuff online and just helping people talk about their feelings and get things out. So anything else before we go? Oh, no problem, Lynn. That's why I'm here. I know you think sometimes I'm not listening, but I'm a therapist. I just jump into therapy mode. I don't mind listening, especially if I can see someone struggling with something, which is why I do the grief videos, which is why I do the mental health videos. When I see people struggling with stuff, and the key to when you're struggling, you got to identify your pattern of behavior. What is causing you to struggle? How is it impacting you? Does it have anything to do with any past trauma that you have that's making that thing feel even worse? Or have you not processed the thing with yourself? Have you not sat in your feelings and cried and understood how this thing has impacted you? Because those are things that we need to do in order to process things. And I will leave us at that, because I will just keep going and going and going. But thank everybody who joined and gave up your 45 minutes of your Friday night to be on here with me. Thank you, TikTok, for joining. I will try to add you to the StreamYard if it allows. I don't know, TikTok is funny about. Or you can just follow me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and then be included in the actual platform over here. But have a good night, and I will talk to everybody later.